Hi, welcome to my channel. Josie here. I'm glad to have you back again. Hope you're doing well. And today you're joining me for my second part 2 of the series sewing undies, panties, knickers that fit. I'm using all the three names, whatever suits you. And if you didn't watch my first video where I introduced to you the patterns and the fabrics and the elastics I'm using, I will attach a link here. You could follow along there. First watch that, then this will make sense. And this particular one is so long. I need to apologize, it's quite a long one, but I'm going to add markers to different parts of the video in the description box. Follow along there. I thought I would share all the techniques I went through sewing the undies or panties, and the first one will be about sewing the gusset. Then the second one sewing on the Picot elastic, and the third one will be sewing on the fold over elastic. It's a fully detailed tutorial. Hope you like it and you can follow along. So if you're wondering what I'm wearing a canopy dress by Nina Patterns, made out of this gorgeous tropical print fabric, which was gifted to me by Minova. I've already reviewed this pattern. I'll attach a link to the video on my channel, or I'll add a link if you're interested in seeing this dress. I like the print. It feels summery, although it's quite cold right now in the UK, but it's good to brighten up the mood with the bright colored clothes. Yeah. My cutting table here, I've got 5 panties that are cut out, and these 3 I cut them out of the self-drafted pattern I made with the Craftsy class. That's the Bluprint class. And for these 2 sets, it's the Evie la Luve Binky Panties, and I decided to have this one cut out of her basic panties pattern. Nothing, no less, nothing else. It's just a basic panty pattern. And this other one, I cut it out with some lace at the back. Hope you can join me as we sew up. For this particular one, this is also a basic panty. It's a bikini size and just a few pieces. I decided to go for with this gray because I didn't have a red in 100% cotton to match. And this one, I'm going to have a lace overlay on top. So I decided to shorten, if you can see from here, this I traced out of this piece. I shortened the upper part of the front piece of the underwear so I can have space and allowance for the lace overlay, and also I catered for the seam allowance over there. And this is also a basic one, and I will be using this elastic for it, black elastic for this. And I'll probably go with this. This should be a Picot elastic, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm going for that. And for this, probably I might go with a contrasting shade and use this maroon stroke burgundy color. Yeah, hope I can take you to the sewing table with me. I'm going to go ahead and sew the gusset pieces onto the back piece of the pattern. And I know we can all realize that this seems much wider because I went to draft my own pattern because I wanted full coverage on my bum. I feel happier when the panty doesn't cut across my bum. I would rather it caters for everything, if you know what I mean. And I'm going to sew on the gusset pieces, and with that, I'm going to first attach the back pieces. So I'll sew them the self piece with right sides facing each other. I'll pin it together. Then I can also turn over and get the gusset piece. This is the inner gusset piece which faces the skin. It's a different shade because it's 100% cotton, and you rarely have 100% cotton in your stash. You'll most likely have this cotton spandex, and that's what I have, but I believe it's better to have the cotton closest to your skin because it's more breathable. And I thought yellow gets close to mustard. And with that, this piece that you want to at first get in contact with your skin, I'm attaching the right side to the back piece of the back knickers panties piece. I'm going to pin it together, then head over to my overlock or sewing machine, whichever works best for you. I know you have to be careful with the overlocker because the pattern calls for a 1/4 seam allowance, so if you can cater for that on your overlocker, then you're winning. I think I'll use my overlocker since it takes away the guess game. So I'm going to go ahead, pin these together and sew them straight, and then I'll come back to you and show you how I attach the front piece to it. As you can see right now, I've managed to sew on the back piece, the gussets, both gusset pieces. You can see the inner part of the gusset, and this is the outward one. I ended up using my overlocker. Like I said, I knew it would come off very easily. So we are going to attach the front piece of our panties onto the gusset. And what we want not to do, we don't want to have seams facing inside our pants. We don't want seams rubbing onto us. So what we're going to do, we are going to do the burrito method. Probably if you're not aware of what the burrito method is, because we want to be able to sew the front piece onto the gusset pieces and conceal all the seams inside. And what we're going to do here, we are going to fold off the back piece of our pants pattern, get the gusset pieces facing outwardly. But now you can see what we are doing. They are facing, we have the raw edges there, and we're going to do the same to the front piece of our gusset of our pants, but we want to make sure that they will face the right direction. So at the end, we want the right sides together. So we shall get the right sides together, connect them to the gusset piece, and we shall bring this other piece of the gusset, put them together, then sew this edge together. I'll still do it on my overlocker, then I'll come back and show you how I've gotten along and show you how we can pull out the pieces and have the seams concealed inside. We have now finished sewing the other seam of the gussets to the front piece. Let me show you with our burrito method how you get your seams concealed in. So we go in, pull out all the pattern pieces, and voila, our seams are sewed together. Don't mind the water, it's water from my iron. I tried to press the seams, but yeah, it decided to drip on. And with this, our seams are all sewed together, and if you look on the inside, they're all concealed inside. So we are going to go ahead and sew the elastic onto the pants. However, most people prefer doing it in the round by first sewing the side seams and sewing it on the round, but I'm choosing this option. I've tried both options, but this seems to work better for me. So I'll show you how I sew on the elastics. I have an option. I'll be sewing on with the Picot elastic on one. So first, my next step is to stitch along the gusset areas, because the last thing you want is missing out these gusset pieces, both of them, while you're attaching the elastic. So before we attach the elastics, I'm going to stitch on both these sides. I'm going to stitch using a straight stitch. I think that should do at about 4.5. If you can notice, I'm using my working foot, which is really good for stretch fabrics, but I realize you can also do this on your straight foot, on your ordinary foot, so it shouldn't really be shouldn't go out of your way to buy a working foot to sew underwear, but yeah. So on an elastic to the fabric, I forgot to say that the right sides have to face each other, so that by the time you turn it over, the right side is still on top. So we're going to start sewing the zigzag stitch. I love to put some tissue paper at the start to help ease the fabric through. It's a small piece at the start to help the fabric ease through, and also leave some extra elastic, so that just in case the sewing machine the needle decides to eat into the first stitches before it can move, it's not eating into our fabric, okay, into our panties. So we shall start. We are using a 3-step zigzag. first make the first stitches without pulling onto the elastic because I want it to first be tucked on. Then I'll make a little I'll tug onto the elastic by a small portion as I go. Don't try to do it in the up to this side, you might end up losing the fabric along the way. So I'm doing small portions as I go, but I want to make sure that the needle gets closer to the edge of the inner part of the elastic, so we don't have a lot of a big gap once we fold it over. Okay. You might want to pull onto the panties at the back to ease the elastic through nicely. We've come to the end of the stitching of this side. As you've noticed, I didn't come so close to the elastic, but I will try to accommodate for it is by folding closer to it when I'm sewing the next step. So as we've stretched it a bit, so it has pulled our fabric in. So we're going to fold it over itself and then use the same 3-step zigzag and sew over this line, trying to expose just a little bit of that shiny bit of the elastic. 3-step zigzag and go along. We shall still tug along a little bit as we go. You also want to go quite into small portions, because if you go straight, you might run off the fabric piece and the parts where you want to stitch. If you can notice here, there's quite a big gap between the edge of the elastic and this and the panties. So what I'm going to do, as I saw, I'm going to try to drag a bit of the fabric close to the edge so it's caught up in the three-step zigzag. So in so doing, I won't have a big gap. Hope I managed to do it. Let's see what I can do. Let's see how it comes together. As you can see, this is a finished leg. I was sewing the leg. Doesn't it look beautiful with the 3-step zigzag? I'm going to go ahead and sew the other side of the leg the same way, and then I'll sew the side seams together after that, and then attach our elastic. I'll come back to you and show you what I'll have come together with. I finished sewing the side seams. Now I'm going to go ahead. If you can notice now from my leg elastic, the front at the front you can only see one line of stitching, and it's only at the back that you see the 2 lines of stitching, but as long as the outside looks much better. So we are done with that, and for the waist elastic, we are going to sew it in the round. And what I'm doing here, I took my waist measurements, and by waist measurements, I'm not talking about your natural waist, where you think the pants will be sitting on your body. That's what you should take. Then I subtracted 4 inches from that, so I'm going to sew the elastic together. Then I attach it on. We've sewed it close, and what we are going to do, we are going to divide the elastic into 4 parts, and we shall do the same to the knickers, so we can put the pins and try to divide the elastic equally. So now marked off all our 4 corners, 4 parts in the pants and the elastic, and we are going to put them together. I prefer putting the end, the raw edge, this joint, what should I call this, seam on the elastic, close to this one of the side seams, in that it's not at the back where it's easily visible. At least here it's close to another seam that we've attached together. So we shall go ahead and mark them together and try to sew the elastics together. And I'll be back after we've sewed down the first line of the elastic, and we shall still be using our 3-step zigzag. We are now going to finish up with our panties. I've attached on the elastic, the waist elastic, and if you may notice, you realize that you never need the waist elastic as tight as the leg elastic, because either way rarely would it slide off your waist. Most times it will fit a bit snug, but the leg elastic needs to fit around your leg. So this seems of a bit more stress, more pulled in than the waist elastic, and that's perfect. So I've attached the waist elastic on, and I've tried to knit in the insides before I could turn it over, because I didn't do it for the inside. For the leg elastic, and you see a little bit is peeping through, so I'll have to go in carefully and snip it out. So now we're going to fold over. This is the inside part of our panties. So I'm going to fold it over itself, and using a 3-step zigzag stitch again, and sew this together, and it shall be done with this pair of panties. Let's go ahead. I must say, as we sew along, you still need to pull onto it a little bit, because if you don't, it will pack her up along the way. So just give it a little tug onto it a little bit as you sew. Voila, we've come to the end of our sewing. Our pants are done. Got a lot of thread over there. And here we go, and these are final pants. We finished sewing up our pants. They need a little press. I wonder why I need to press them, but a little press, and yeah, we're done with our pants. You made your first pair of pants. Then I'm going to show you how neat it looks. I'm going now to show you how to sew the pants using a fold of elastic. That will be our next step. We are now going to sew these panties using fold of elastic. This is what it looks like. It has a line in the middle that separates it, and the beauty with fold of elastic, you can either use the plush side or the shiny side, and I think I love this. I prefer the shiny side. So I'm going to sew it up. I'm going to still use my 3-step zigzag stitch, and you would want to line your first step of sewing. I'm going to first sew it the first round, then we go back and fold it over the fabric and still sew it down. It seems like it's a tedious it's tedious, but there are people who are confident enough to sew it in one go, but I don't think I would rather go down that road, because I stand chances of skipping the fabric if I decide to sew it in one go. So I'm going to do it twice. I'll first sew the first side down, and what we are doing here, we're having the right side facing up. We first sew along, and we make sure that the stitching doesn't go past the line, but should it go by a little margin, it shouldn't be a big deal. So we are going to sew along using a 3-step zigzag stitch, and we are still going to sew as I tug on. So let me set my machine now to a 3-step zigzag stitch. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to align the edge of the fabric along this middle line of the fold of elastic, and I'll tug onto it a little bit as we go. I'm still not sewing it in the round. I'm sewing it with the side seams open, and I've not cut off the elastic piece that I'm not going to use. I'm going along as I stretch, and I hope it will give me a good stretch, but I'm afraid it might still end up being a bit big because this elastic is quite loose. So I'm going to do my level best to try and tug onto it a bit more. And let's see what we come up with. I guess we are all here to learn. But you can still get stronger fold of elastic. I got all my elastics from the same online store. I think they had a variety. I didn't know what I was looking for the very first time I bought them. Now that I know what works better and what doesn't, I'll be more conscious when I'm buying my next lot. Okay, let's get sewing. Enough with the talking. Tug onto the elastic as I sew, and still I'm going by small portions as I go. I don't want to overstretch it. Small portions as you go, because now this is quite rounded. If you go quite fast, you might end up skipping, getting the fabric run off the elastic. so I'll still go small portions at a time. Elastic quite a bit because it's a loose one. If I don't do this, it might not work as an if I don't pull onto it quite hard, it might not gather the panties legs, because right now I'm sewing the leg parts. Just watch, hope you can see what I'm doing. Now I tried to sew along close to the line. Here I jumped off a bit, but hope it's still clear. It's focusing now. But I tried to go over it. So what we're going to do in the second round, we're going to fold the elastic over and sew with the same 3-step zigzag and trying still tugging onto the fabric so it doesn't, so the elastic actually works. Because if we just stitch like that, this upper part won't gather the fabric. So we're going to stretch it as we sew. I'm sorry if my hands are blocking off your view. I was trying to make sure that you can see what I'm doing, but it doesn't seem to be coming together so easily, but hope you can still follow along. So now we are going to go over with the same 3-step zigzag stitch, and while we do that, we are going to tug onto the fabric a bit still as we go. Hope you can follow from there. And while we fold it over, we are tugging onto the fabric a bit, so elastic and stretch the fabric. It's important to guide the fabric so that the needle doesn't go over the elastic, so that it just sticks to the elastic itself. Hey, we finished sewing this. It's a bit, what should I call it, rigid, no, wonky a bit, but I guess it gets to do with the elastic not being as stretchy, but I'm so sure when I wear it, it will fit nicely over my body. So I'm going to go ahead and also sew the other side of the elastic off camera, and then sew the side seams together. Then we shall come back, and I think what I'll be doing, or if you didn't notice, this time around I used the lighter pink gusset piece because it's what was 100% cotton. This was cotton spandex, which is probably 95% or 97% cotton, and then the other percentage is spandex. So I would rather have 100% cotton against my skin. So I had a lighter pink, and I thought it would better match with the dark pink because I didn't have another fabric that could match closely to it. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the other side of the panty legs, and we shall come back to, probably by the time I come back I'll have sewn the side seams together. Then I'll sew the elastic on in the round. Okay, I've sewed both the leg elastic. It didn't come out as nice this side, but this other side of the leg came out nicely. I guess done is better than perfect. And then I've gone ahead, sewed up the side seams, and now I've divided the pants into 4 parts. This in the middle, and also the seams on the side form the other 4 parts. And I've done the same thing to the elastic, divided it into 4 parts with the seam forming the seam here. I'm going to sew up the waist in the round, so I like to align the seam on the elastic close to the seam on the side, and I'm going to sew the same exact way that as I did on the leg, trying to keep the edge in this in the fold of the elastic while as I tug on. This time around I won't be pulling. I'm not going to pull as much because the elastic is a bit bigger. It's not bigger than this. The difference is quite small, so I won't be tugging on too much. But I know you don't need very tight fitting elastic for the waist as you would for the legs. So I'm going to go ahead and sew it off camera, and I'm going to still sew it in 2 rounds. The first round will be with the right side facing up, right side of the fabric facing up. Then by the time I fold it over, the last stitch will, just one single line of stitching will appear on the front side. Thank you for watching the entire video. I know it's been quite a long one, but I'm hoping the markers were helpful. Let me know what you think. Has this simplified the whole idea you've had around pants making, or you didn't think it was challenging at all? Or has this inspired you to sew your own panties? Otherwise, if you enjoyed this, follow me on to the part 3, where I'm going to review the patterns I used, review the various fabrics I used for sewing up the panties and the elastics. And hope to see you again. Bye bye. Until next time.